Today we're going to learn how to play Luck and Logic, a new Japanese card game launching January 28th. In Luck and Logic, this is the playing area. This is where your main deck goes. Face down. You can't change the order of the cards here without the game rules letting you. It's what's called a closed zone. Neither player can look at these cards unless the rules allow you to. The number of cards here is allowed to be checked by both players. This is the drop zone. This is an open zone. Cards in here are face up for both players to see. You can rearrange the cards however you like, count them, and so on. This is the level zone. Cards in here can be face up or face down, either standing or rested, vertical, horizontal. Face up cards are open, obviously, and face down cards are partially closed. That means the player whose level zone this is can look at them, but their opponent cannot. This here is the stock zone. This is a closed zone. It's treated just like the deck, however cards here are often spread out so they can be counted more easily. Cards placed here are put on top, as they're placed here, and then when you are told to pay stock, cards are taken from here one at a time and moved to the drop zone until the whole cost is paid from the top. So that means, for example, that the first card that's here is going to be there until all other cards are paid out first. This is the field. On it are 6 circles. These circles will each have a gate on them, and on top of that is where members go to both protect your gates and attack your opponents. This is the battle zone. Cards are placed here horizontally during the logic definition step in a battle. This is the intercept zone. Cards are placed there vertically during the intercept step in a battle. This is the paradox zone. Paradox cards can be moved here by game rules to show you that they are still in effect. Your hand is your hand of cards. Partially closed, which means you can see it but your opponent can't. The number of cards in it is public knowledge, and there's no hand limit in this game. Lastly, this area off the mat is called the remove zone. It's a closed zone, so neither player can look at the cards in it. Unused gates are placed here at the beginning of the game, as well as 1 card each time you refresh the main deck. Now the cards. You have 2 decks of cards. The first is made up of exactly 10 black-backed cards called the gate deck. A gate card has a gate number. No more than 2 of any gate number can be present in the gate deck. Name, card text, and the world it is from. The second is made up of white-backed cards called the main deck. 50 cards, no more than 4 of any one card name, and of those 50, exactly 8 paradoxes. There are 3 types of cards in this deck: members, tactics, and paradox cards. Member cards have a title and a name. Together that makes up the card name. They have a color, this one is green. They have a symbol that marks them as a logicalist, which is a black diamond, a foreigner, which is a white circle, or a transunion, which is a green starburst. They have a level, which is when they can be deployed, a cost, which is how much they cost to deploy, a territory, which is how many circles they take up on the field, their logic, which is the bonus they give when used in battle, card text, flavor text, power, which is how good they are in a fight, aura, 1 per symbol, which is how good they are in an aura fight, their limit, which is the amount of logic definition they can do during battle, and then at the bottom is their traits, which can be referred to by card text, their world, and then in the bottom left, TransUnion have their partner listed, whereas logicalists and foreigners will have their soul bonus. This text isn't used in-game. The partner and name listed aren't required for when you trans a TransUnion, as you'll see, and the soul bonus is currently the same for every logicalist and foreigner, but that doesn't mean that cards can't reference this or change it in the future. Next are tactics. Much more simple. They have a name and a color, logic, and card text. Note that the logic here is just the word tactics. You have to read the card text to see what is happening with it. Last are paradoxes. Paradoxes are sideways cards with a Penrose triangle in the corner. They have logic, again just a word, paradox. Name, color, and card text. They also have a paradox rule, which changes power battles to aura battles. More on that later. There's 8 of these in the deck, no more, no less. Before we start, some talk about card text and 2 basic overall rules. Cards can have 4 different types of abilities. If an ability has a cost, you pay the whole cost, left to right, and then do what the ability says. Continuous abilities, marked with the red symbol, are on all the time. As long as that card is in play face up in the proper zone, field for members, battle zone for tactics, battle or paradox zones for paradoxes, unless card text says otherwise, the ability is active. When it leaves, it is gone, like a light switch. For example, all your members get +1 aura, or if it's your turn, this gets +2000 power. Auto abilities, marked in green, say when they activate and for how long, when this is played, when this goes to drop zone from field, when, etc. These abilities, once activated, last for as long as the ability says. For example, if a card says, when this is played from hand to battle zone, all of your members get +4000 power until the end of the turn, and you play that card to battle zone, then that ability activates and lasts for the turn, no matter what happens to the card itself afterwards. Think of auto abilities like missiles. Once they fire off, it doesn't matter what happens to the launch pad. Activated or startup abilities are marked with a blue symbol. Those are abilities that can be activated by a player during their own main phase on their turn. They can be activated as many times as the player likes, as long as that player can pay the cost each time. Lastly, logic drives. These are marked LD, and they are special abilities that are activated in the main phase by performing a logic drive, which we'll get to later. Regarding the deck, when you run out of cards in your deck, you are forced to take a refresh. That means first, you take all of the cards in your drop zone and move them into your deck. Second, you shuffle your deck. Third, you finish whatever action or card text you are doing. And fourth, you take the top card of your deck and place it face down in the remove zone. That last step is called the refresh penalty. If you refresh and there's a card already from the main deck in the remove zone, you lose the game. That means you can only really get one refresh in a game. The next one makes you lose. Second, when you move a card from a closed zone to a closed zone, such as from the top of the deck to the stock, you don't get to look at it. It's going from where you can't see to where you can't see. So you can't peek at it or something on the way. To win in Luck and Logic, you either need for your opponent to lose by refreshing twice, or you need to destroy or break all 6 of your opponent's gates. Let's continue on to see how to set the stage. Okay, here's how game start works. Randomly determine who goes first. Rock, paper, scissors with winner going first is standard. That player shuffles their gate deck and places one gate face down onto each circle without looking. The rest of the gates go to the remove zone, again without looking at them. Then they shuffle their main deck, draw 5 cards, look at them, pick as many cards as they want from 0 to 5 and put them on the bottom of their deck in any order, and then draw back up to 5 cards. So if they put 0 cards there, they draw 0. If they put 3, they draw 3, and so on. The other player does all of this as well, and then we start playing. The person who won goes first, takes their entire turn, then the other player takes their entire turn, and back and forth until somebody wins. Let's go over how a turn works. First, the stand phase. Stand all of your members in the field and all of your level cards. Next, the draw phase. You draw 2 cards and then take the top card of your deck and put it to stock. Next, the level phase. If you want, during your level phase, you may take 1 card from your hand and place it in your level zone, face up and standing. You can only do this once during your level phase per turn. If you're going first, and it's your first turn, and you level up, the card you place in your level zone is placed face down. You can look at it, but your opponent cannot. If you choose to level, and you're about to level, and you have 4 or more cards in your level zone, instead of adding a card to your level zone, you instead choose 1 card from your level zone and swap it with a card in your hand. This is a way to get the face down card out of there so you have 4 face up cards if you were the person who went first. During your main phase, there are a number of different actions you can take. You can do as many actions as you want in any order and as many times as you want, unless otherwise noted, until you are done, and then you end your main phase. The 6 actions you can do are: to deploy a member, choose any member card in your hand, Logicalist, Foreigner, or TransUnion, that has a level equal to or lower than the number of cards in your level zone. Face up, face down, resting or standing, they all count. And has a cost equal to or lower than the number of cards in your stock zone. If it's a TransUnion, you must also have that member's color or world showing in your level zone. Pay a number of stock listed under cost, then place that member on a number of circles equal to its territory. If it's 1 territory, then it's placed on 1 circle. If it's 2 territory, then it's placed on 2 circles. That or that. Diagonal doesn't count. If you deploy a member onto circles and there are members already there, those members are moved to drop zone. Moving or swapping members. You may rearrange your members so that the territory they cover is to your liking. Pick the end result of your field with all the currently in-play members taking up the amount of territory listed on them without overlap, and then move them accordingly. So for example, that, or that, or so on. Using startup abilities. Choose a startup ability on a member, not a logic drive. Pay the cost, if any, and perform the action once you have. Luck drive. Pay 3 stock and draw 1 card. You can do this as many times in your main phase as you like. This is true for all the main phase actions described so far. The next two actions you can only perform once per turn each. You can do both if you want, but you can do each one only once per turn. Trance. To trance, choose one in-play logicalist and one in-play foreigner, and then search your deck and hand for a trance union that you can legally deploy at this time. During this search, you may choose to refresh. The refresh penalty will, as mentioned before, be performed after the trance action is complete. While searching, if you find a trance union that you'd like to play, you then take it and deploy it to the field, just as you would if you had played it from your hand, except for you take the logicalist and the foreigner and you put it under it as soul. If you fail to find a trance union that you want to play, the logicalist and foreigner are instead moved to drop zone. Please note that the logicalist and foreigner do not have to match the trance union or the character listed on it as a partner in any way. Any logicalist plus any foreigner together can be used to transfer any legally deployable trance union. Again, one trance per turn. Logic Drive. Choose one Logic Drive ability on one of your in-play trance union members that has one or more soul, pay the cost of it, and perform the action listed. Please note that the member must have soul, which usually means you have to have tranced them into play. These are often better than luck drive actions. One Logic Drive per turn, even if you have multiple ensouled trance unions or an ensouled trance union with multiple Logic Drives. In this example, this is pay 3 stock, draw 1 card, and then this member gets plus 2,000 power until the end of your opponent's next turn. Battle Phase. During the battle phase, you will attempt to defeat your opponent's members and break your opponent's gates. You may attack as many times as you have face-up cards in your level zone, which means that generally, first player's first turn they can't attack. To attack, choose any one of your standing members, even ones in the back row, and rest it. And choose one of your opponent's 6 circles. You cannot choose a circle in their back row if the circle in front of it has an unbroken gate. Whether or not members are on circles has no bearing on whether or not you can choose it. If the front row has a broken gate, you can choose the circle in the back. If your member has soul, it gets plus 1,000 power for the duration of the battle for each soul that it has on attack. Not on defense, only on attack. This info is also listed on Logicalist and Foreigners in the bottom corner. If there is no member using that circle as all or part of the territory, and the gate on that circle is broken already, which is face up, nothing happens. If there is no member using that circle on all or part of the territory, and the gate on the circle is unbroken, the gate is then broken. The opponent flips that gate face up, activates the text on that card. Note that if this makes 6 broken gates, they lose before the text activates and the gate is flipped. If there is a member using the circle on all or part of its territory, then a battle begins. First, the defending player may pick any in-play members that are not on the attacked circle to have IC in their logic and intercept with them. They move all the ones they want to the intercept zone, and their logic lasts for the duration of that battle, whether it's a power boost, an aura boost, or a limit boost. Then, starting with the defending player and going back and forth, logic definition begins. During this, a player may do one of 3 things. First is pass. If they have a number of cards in their battle zone equal to or greater than the limit of the member in battle, they are forced to pass and cannot choose the other 2 actions. So if a member has 0 limit, as there are 0 or more cards in the battle zone to start, they have to pass straight away. Note that cards in the intercept zone don't count towards limit. If both players pass in turn, one player chooses to pass as their action, and the other player chooses to pass as the action immediately after that, the logic definition step is concluded. Passing does not force you to continue to pass. You can pass, your opponent can play a card, and then you can play a card, you don't have to pass again. Second, you can play a card to the battle zone. You can choose a card in your hand and place it to the battle zone. Its logic affects the player's member for the duration of the battle. If it's a tactics card, be sure to read the card text, as the logic on the card doesn't actually provide a boost, it just says tactics. However, the card text will often say something like, when this is placed from hand to battle zone, pay a certain cost and this character receives something for the battle. If it's a paradox card, note that there may be auto or continuous abilities on that work, and the continuous ability works as long as it's face up in the battle or paradox zone. And it has a paradox rule that says battles are now fought in aura, not power, which is active again as long as the card is face up in the battle or paradox zone. After you play a paradox card, if you have if you have a paradox card already in play on your side, either in the battle zone or the paradox zone, you choose one of them and you turn it face down. If your opponent has a paradox card in play, either in the battle zone or in the paradox zone, you turn theirs face down and you turn yours face down. This would turn the turning face down nullifies the card text on it. Any paradox text and or continuous text in that card is now no longer active. If there is still a face-up paradox card on the field, then it still has its continuous abilities and its paradox text. If there are no paradox cards on the field, then you're fighting in power. If there's one or more, then you're fighting in aura. Level boost. You can rest a standing card, face up or face down in your level zone, draw a card, then choose a card in your hand and place it in the battle zone, just like how you would have played a card from your hand normally. Note that if you level boost, you must play a card from your hand to the battle zone, even if it doesn't help you. After both players pass, we see who wins. Compare either the power or the aura of the two members based on whether or not there's paradox text in play. If the attacking member's appropriate value is equal to or higher than the defending member, so yes, attackers win ties, the attacker wins. If the attacker wins, the defending member and all soul under it go to stock. Note that the order of the cards is chosen by the defender, who does not reveal the order to the attacker, so they can pick up their member and soul. They can organize it in their hand as they see fit, and then place it all to stock. If the attacker doesn't win, the attacker doesn't go to stock. The attacker doesn't, nothing happens to the attacker if they don't win. End of battle step. Move any face-up paradox cards in the battle zone to their respective owner's paradox zone. Move all other cards in the battle zone and intercept zone to their respective drop zones. Now, if the turn player wants to attack again and has more attacks left this turn, they can attack again. Otherwise, continue to the end turn step. End turn step. Move all cards in all paradox zones to their respective drop zones. All effects that last until the end of the turn end now. Then the other player becomes the turn player, starting their turn with the stand phase. That's it. You can take a look at Heart of the Cards to find places to buy and play Luck and Logic, or if you want to carry it in your store. As the game continues, we'll have other matches and videos, so subscribe to get updates, and thanks for taking a look at Luck and Logic.